Only 1% will understand this. Elon Musk explains the real reason you're not rich yet, my beloved child. Wait, pause right here for a moment, because something important is moving beneath the surface of this second, and if you rush past it, you may never notice what was always meant for you. There is a reason this title pulled you in. There is a reason these words found you now. Most people believe wealth is blocked by money, luck, or timing. But that belief itself is the barrier. And this is where the story truly begins. You see, when Elon Musk speaks about progress, he rarely talks about comfort. He talks about leverage, time horizons, and first principles. And hidden inside those ideas is a quiet truth most people never catch. The real reason you are not rich yet is not because you lack effort, or intelligence, or even opportunity. It is because you were trained to play a game that no longer exists. Stay with this thought for a second. Let it settle. Think about how most people spend their days. They trade time for money, repeat patterns, and wait for permission. They optimize for safety instead of scale. Elon once implied that if you are solving small problems, you will receive small rewards, no matter how hard you work. And here is the part only 1% understands. The world no longer pays for effort. It pays for impact. It pays for systems. It pays for those who see 10 years ahead while others are still reacting to yesterday. What if the reason you feel stuck is because you are actually early, not late? What if your frustration is not failure, but friction between who you are becoming and the outdated rules you were given? Most people are taught to ask, what job should I get? Visionaries ask, what problem is so big that solving it changes everything? That difference alone rewires destiny. Pause here. Notice how this feels. Slightly uncomfortable. Slightly awakening. That is not an accident. Because wealth, in its truest form, begins with awareness. And awareness is rare. Elon Musk often talks about thinking from first principles, breaking things down to what truly matters, not what everyone assumes matters. Apply that to your life. Strip away titles, expectations, noise. What value can you create that does not depend on your hours, your location, or someone else's approval? The moment you ask that question seriously, you step out of the 99%. Most people chase money directly, and it runs from them. The few who understand build value, and money has no choice but to follow. This is not motivation. This is mechanics. This is how the future is designed. And this is only the first layer. Stay a little longer. Because what comes next explains why intelligence alone is not enough, and why timing without vision is wasted. My beloved child, listen closely now, because this next part shifts everything, and many people turn away right before this point without realizing what they missed. The second reason you are not rich yet has nothing to do with skill, and everything to do with how you see time. Most people live inside short timelines. Weekly paychecks, monthly bills, yearly goals. Elon Musk operates on decades. When he invests, builds, or commits, he does so knowing the reward may come far later than most people are willing to wait. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Wealth is delayed by design. The system filters people out using impatience. Ask yourself this quietly. How often have you quit something that was working simply because it was slow? How many times did you stop just before the compounding would have begun? The future rewards those who can tolerate being misunderstood for a long time. That is a sentence very few people are willing to live by. There is also another layer most never notice. Elon has said that information is everywhere, but insight is rare. We live in a world where everyone consumes, but almost no one synthesizes. They scroll, they watch, they react. The 1% pauses, connects patterns, and acts when others are still debating. They do not wait for certainty. They wait for clarity. This is where many people watching right now quietly separate from the crowd, whether they realize it or not. If this message is resonating, it is because something in you already knows this. You have felt it before, that sense that you are meant to build, not just survive. That you are meant to think bigger than your environment allowed. Before you go any further, this is the moment where I gently ask you something. If this perspective is opening something inside you, consider sharing it with someone who thinks deeply, and stay connected by subscribing so you don't lose this thread. Not because you are told to, but because conversations like this are rare, and they compound when revisited. Now, here is the part that changes behavior. Elon Musk does not wait to be ready. He builds while learning. Most people wait to feel confident before they act. Visionaries act to become confident. That reversal alone creates a massive gap over time. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates mastery. Mastery creates leverage. You are not behind. You are at the decision point. And decisions, not circumstances, define wealth. Wait till the final moment of this next part. Because the last reason ties everything together in a way most people never hear out loud. My beloved child, take a breath before this next thought, because it arrives quietly, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The final reason you are not rich yet is not external at all. It is internal alignment. Elon Musk once hinted that people underestimate how much energy matters. Not physical energy, but cognitive and emotional energy. When your attention is scattered, your results are diluted. The world rewards focus at scale. And yet, most people leak their focus into things that do not build the future they want. Look carefully at where your attention goes each day. That is where your life is being built. Wealth follows attention, because attention determines learning, and learning determines leverage. This is why the 1% guard their focus so fiercely. They are not smarter. They are not luckier. They are more aligned. Another truth hidden in plain sight: rich outcomes often come from unpopular paths. Elon invested in electric vehicles when people laughed. In reusable rockets when experts doubted. He was not certain of success. He was certain of direction. That distinction matters more than confidence. If you feel out of place, misunderstood, or ahead of your surroundings, that is not a flaw. That is a signal. Most people never feel that tension because they never leave the center of the crowd. You did. Even by watching this, you did. And here is the quiet conclusion most people miss. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you grow into by becoming the kind of person who can hold it, multiply it, and direct it with purpose. Until identity shifts, income rarely does. This is why only 1% truly understands messages like this. Not because they are secret, but because they require responsibility. Awareness changes nothing unless it becomes action. And action, when aligned, changes everything. You will understand everything at the end, they say. But the truth is simpler. You already do. The question is not whether this is true. The question is what you choose to do next, now that you see it. My beloved child, wait. Before you move forward, something just shifted, and if you feel it, that means you are exactly where you're supposed to be. In the last part, a quiet question was left hanging in the air. If effort alone doesn't create wealth, and intelligence is not the deciding factor, then what is actually holding people back? Keep listening. In the next few moments, everything begins to connect. Here is the first reveal most people never hear. The world rewards those who think in models, not moments. Elon Musk often speaks in frameworks: first principles, leverage, exponential curves. Most people, however, live reactively. They respond to today, worry about tomorrow, and forget to design 5 years ahead. That gap in thinking is invisible, but it is massive, and it quietly separates outcomes. Pause for a second. Ask yourself this: are you reacting to life, or are you architecting it? That single distinction explains more wealth gaps than talent ever could. The future does not belong to the busiest people. It belongs to the clearest ones. Now here comes a deeper layer. You were taught to avoid mistakes. Elon was trained to learn from them faster than anyone else. That difference rewires everything. When you fear mistakes, you move slowly. When you study them, you move decisively. Progress accelerates when feedback becomes fuel instead of friction. This moment may explain what you've been sensing lately, that restlessness, that quiet frustration that says, "I'm capable of more." That feeling is not impatience. It is awareness waking up. Most people numb it. The 1% listen. Here is another micro reveal. Wealth grows where responsibility is welcomed, not demanded. Welcomed. Elon once hinted that leadership and ownership change how the brain operates. When you take responsibility for outcomes, you begin to see variables others miss. When you avoid it, you stay dependent on systems that were never designed to make you free. Notice the emotional wave here. First tension, then hope, now clarity. You don't need permission to think bigger. You don't need approval to build something meaningful. You need alignment between your curiosity and your courage. And this is where many people quietly fall away. Because alignment requires letting go of old identities. The version of you that only reacts cannot create a future that compounds. The version of you that designs can. In the next few seconds, you'll understand why timing is rarely the problem. Most people believe they missed their chance. Visionaries know chances are created, not found. Elon didn't wait for perfect conditions. He built conditions that didn't exist yet. That mindset alone bends reality over time. If this message resonates, you know where to find the next one. Not because you are told to, but because something in you recognizes this frequency. Now lean in for the transition. There is one final shift that turns understanding into momentum. It explains why some people hear these ideas and change nothing, while others hear them once and never see the world the same again. You'll understand it at the end. But there's one truth still missing. My beloved child, stay right here, before the thought slips away, because this is the section most people never reach, and it explains everything that came before. In the last part, a truth was left unresolved. Understanding alone does not create momentum. So what separates those who hear ideas from those who turn them into reality? This moment may explain what you've been sensing all along. Here is the reveal that quietly changes trajectories. Wealth follows identity before it follows action. Read that slowly in your mind. Most people try to act their way into a new life. Visionaries become the kind of person whose actions naturally produce a new life. That internal shift is invisible, but its effects are unmistakable. Think about how Elon Musk approaches creation. He does not ask, "Can this work?" He asks, "What would the world look like if it did?" That question alone expands the frame. When identity shifts from consumer to builder, from employee to owner, from follower to architect, decisions change automatically. Effort feels lighter. Direction feels clearer. There is tension here for a reason. Identity resists change. It prefers the familiar, even when the familiar limits growth. This is why most people circle the same financial patterns year after year. They upgrade tools, but not self-concept. The future does not respond to tools alone. It responds to who is holding them. Now let hope enter the room. Identity is not fixed. It is chosen, reinforced, and practiced. The moment you decide to think in terms of value creation instead of validation, something subtle unlocks. You stop asking for permission. You start testing ideas. You move from waiting to building. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. The reason so many people feel almost there, but never arrive is because they keep returning to an old identity under pressure. When uncertainty appears, they default to safety. Visionaries default to curiosity. That is the fork in the road. Here is another micro reveal. The future rewards those who can hold uncertainty without rushing to close it. Elon often operates without complete answers, guided by direction rather than guarantees. Most people demand certainty first, and by the time it arrives, the opportunity has already passed. Notice the rhythm now. Short insight, then space. Because this part is not about speed, it is about depth. You don't need to know everything. You need to know what matters. And what matters is building something that compounds, skills that stack, ideas that scale, relationships that multiply impact. This is why comparison is such a quiet trap. When you measure yourself against others, you borrow their timeline instead of building your own. Visionaries compete only with their past clarity. They ask, "Do I see more clearly than I did yesterday?" That question alone creates momentum. You'll understand at the end why this message feels different. It is not promising shortcuts. It is revealing structure. Structure is what turns potential into outcomes. Lean into this final tension. Awareness has now met identity. Identity is preparing for action. But action without one final element collapses back into noise. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, you were meant to hear this section most of all, because what comes now is the missing link, the quiet force that turns awareness into outcomes. In the last part, identity was revealed as the gatekeeper. But identity alone still isn't enough. Something else decides whether momentum holds, or fades. Stay with me. In the next few moments, everything will connect. Here is the turning point most people never name. Wealth follows focus sustained over time. Not excitement. Not bursts of motivation. Sustained focus. Elon Musk does not win because he has more ideas. He wins because he commits to fewer ideas longer than anyone else. That endurance is rare. And rarity is always rewarded. Feel the tension here. Because sustained focus requires saying no to distractions, to applause, to shortcuts that feel good but build nothing. Most people mistake movement for progress. Visionaries measure progress by depth. They go deeper when others go wider. Now let hope rise again. Focus is not about willpower. It is about clarity. When your why is precise, discipline becomes natural. Elon aligns teams around missions so clear that effort organizes itself. When the mission is vague, energy leaks. When it is sharp, momentum compounds. This moment may explain what you've been sensing, that sense that you've been busy, but not building. Active, but not advancing. The difference is subtle, but decisive. Builders design systems. Systems create results while you sleep. This is why the future belongs to those who think in leverage, not labor. Here is another micro reveal. The internet did not make wealth harder. It made leverage visible. One idea can now reach millions. One product can scale globally. One insight can compound for years. And yet most people still use these tools like spectators, not creators. They consume signals instead of sending them. Pause. Let that land. In the next few seconds, you'll understand why consistency beats intensity every time. Elon's projects often look slow, until suddenly they are not. That is compounding revealing itself. The curve is flat, until it isn't. Most people quit on the flat part. The 1% stays. If this message resonates, you know where to find the next one. Not out of habit, but because alignment recognizes alignment. Now comes the revelation that brings calm. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right few things repeatedly. When focus narrows, power increases. When power increases, outcomes follow. This is not pressure. It is permission to simplify. Notice the rhythm again. Tension gives way to clarity. Clarity opens possibility. Possibility invites mystery. Because even now, one truth remains just beyond reach. Elon often says the future is not something you predict, it's something you build. But building requires one final ingredient that most people misunderstand. Without it, focus turns rigid, identity turns heavy, momentum stalls quietly. You'll understand at the end why this ingredient changes everything. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, pause right here, before the meaning rushes past you, because what you're about to hear completes the pattern you've been circling since the beginning. In the last part, one ingredient was left unnamed, the force that keeps focus alive without turning it rigid. This moment may explain what you've been sensing, the quiet difference between effort that exhausts and effort that multiplies. Here is the reveal. Wealth follows curiosity guided by purpose. Not blind ambition. Not endless hustle. Curiosity. Elon Musk has said, in different ways, that progress comes from asking better questions, not forcing faster answers. Curiosity keeps learning alive. Purpose keeps it directed. When those two align, momentum becomes sustainable. Feel the tension release here. Many people burn out not because they lack discipline, but because they are pushing without wonder. They follow routines that no longer teach them anything new. Visionaries protect curiosity like oxygen. They keep asking, what am I missing? And that question opens doors effort alone never finds. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. Remember the earlier parts: identity, focus, leverage. Curiosity is what refreshes identity. It keeps focus flexible. It turns leverage into innovation instead of repetition. Without curiosity, systems decay. With it, they evolve. Here is a reveal that shifts perspective. The future does not reward those who know the most. It rewards those who learn the fastest. Elon constantly enters beginner mode, even at the highest level. That humility is not weakness. It is strategic. It keeps the mind open while others become certain, and certainty, ironically, slows growth. Let hope rise again. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to stay teachable while moving forward. When curiosity leads, mistakes become information. Feedback becomes direction. Progress becomes inevitable. This moment may explain why some people plateau after early success. They stop being curious. They defend what they know instead of exploring what they don't. Visionaries do the opposite. They stay in motion by staying interested. Notice the rhythm now. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about rushing you forward. It's about helping you recognize the signal inside yourself. If you feel more awake than motivated, more clear than pressured, that's alignment doing its work. Here is another turning point. Purpose gives curiosity a compass. Without purpose, curiosity scatters. With it, curiosity compounds. Elon's purpose, solving large, meaningful problems, filters what he explores and what he ignores. That filter is what keeps energy clean. You'll understand at the end why this balance matters so much. When purpose and curiosity move together, time stops feeling like an enemy. You become patient without becoming passive, active without becoming frantic. Lean into the mystery that remains. Awareness has grown. Identity has shifted. Focus has narrowed. Curiosity has been reignited. And yet, one final truth still sits just out of view: the reason some people sustain this state for life, while others drift back into old patterns. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, hold still for a breath, because something subtle just aligned, and this is where many people feel it without knowing why. In the last part, curiosity and purpose came together, yet a final question remained unanswered. Why do some people sustain this clarity for life, while others slowly drift back into old patterns? This moment may explain what you've been sensing beneath the surface. Here is the next reveal. Wealth follows environment more than motivation. Read that again in your mind. Elon Musk is often portrayed as endlessly driven, but what actually sustains him is structure. He designs environments, mental, social, and operational, that make high-level thinking the default. Most people try to fight their environment with willpower. Visionaries redesign the environment so willpower is rarely needed. Feel the tension here, because this challenges a common belief. You were told that discipline is about forcing yourself, but the future rewards those who remove friction instead of fighting it. Elon surrounds himself with people who think long-term, systems that surface truth quickly, and routines that protect deep work. Over time, that environment shapes outcomes almost automatically. Now let hope return. You don't need to change everything at once. Small environmental shifts compound. Who you listen to, what you study, where your attention rests when no one is watching. These choices quietly program direction. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. Here is a micro reveal most people overlook. Your environment is not just physical, it is informational. What you repeatedly consume trains your expectations of what is possible. Elon grew up reading deeply, thinking in systems, imagining futures beyond the present moment. That informational environment expanded his sense of reality long before resources arrived. This moment may explain why some people feel inspired briefly, then fall back. They step into a higher idea, but return to an environment that pulls them downward. Visionaries close that gap. They curate inputs until their inner world and outer goals stop conflicting. Notice the emotional wave now. Tension gives way to relief. Because this is not about becoming superhuman. It's about becoming intentional. When your environment supports your direction, consistency feels natural. Focus feels protected. Curiosity stays alive. Another turning point arrives here. Elon Musk does not try to win every day. He tries to position himself so winning becomes likely over time. That patience is strategic. Most people chase daily validation. Visionaries build quiet momentum that reveals itself later. You'll understand at the end why this matters so deeply. When environment aligns with identity, progress stops feeling fragile. You no longer rely on motivation spikes. You rely on systems that keep you moving even on ordinary days. Let the mystery return gently. Because even with the right environment, even with clarity and curiosity, one last element determines whether wealth remains temporary or becomes enduring. It is rarely discussed. It is often misunderstood. And it quietly separates the 1% from everyone else. Lean into this pause. Something important is approaching. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, wait, before this settles into certainty, let it breathe, because this is where the pattern tightens and the meaning deepens. In the last part, environment was revealed as the silent force shaping momentum. But one question still echoed beneath it all. Why do some people, even with the right environment, still hesitate at the edge of their potential? This moment may explain what you've been sensing. Here is the next reveal. Wealth follows decision velocity, not reckless speed, clear speed. Elon Musk is known for moving fast, but the secret is not haste, it is decisiveness. He gathers the signal, accepts uncertainty, and chooses a direction while others are still collecting opinions. That difference compounds quietly. Feel the tension here. Because indecision feels safe. It feels responsible. But over time, it becomes expensive. Opportunities are time-bound. Momentum is sensitive. Visionaries understand that a good decision now often beats a perfect decision later. Now let hope rise. Decision velocity is trainable. You don't need to know everything to move forward. You need to know enough to take the next step. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. Here is a micro reveal that reframes fear. Fear is not a stop sign. It is information. Elon has often acknowledged risk, but he does not negotiate with it endlessly. He accounts for it, then proceeds. When fear becomes data instead of a command, progress resumes. This moment may explain why clarity sometimes fades right before action. The mind tries to protect the old identity by delaying the new one. Visionaries recognize this pattern and move anyway, calmly, deliberately, without drama. That is how identity upgrades lock in. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about pushing you, it's about inviting precision. When decisions align with purpose, they feel clean. When they don't, hesitation grows louder. Learn to listen to that signal. Another turning point emerges here. Elon doesn't seek consensus for core decisions. He seeks truth. Consensus optimizes for comfort. Truth optimizes for outcomes. This is why the 1% often feel alone early, and understood later. You'll understand at the end why this matters so much. Decision velocity keeps curiosity alive, focus sharp, and environment effective. Without it, systems stall. With it, compounding accelerates. Let the mystery return. Softly. Because even decisive people can drift if one final anchor is missing. It is not strategy. It is not intelligence. It is something quieter, something that stabilizes direction when results are slow and noise is loud. Stay with that thought. Let it hover. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, stay with this moment. Because what you're about to hear settles the noise and sharpens the signal, and many people miss it by rushing for certainty. In the last part, decision velocity surfaced as the quiet accelerator. Yet a deeper question lingered. What anchors decisive people when outcomes lag and the world grows loud? This moment may explain what you've been sensing beneath the momentum. Here is the reveal that steadies everything. Wealth follows truth, seeking practice daily. Not optimism. Not confidence. Truth. Elon's advantage has never been blind belief, it has been relentless honesty with reality. When truth is faced early, correction is small. When truth is delayed, correction becomes costly. The 1% understands this and builds habits that surface reality fast. Feel the tension dissolve slightly. Because truth sounds heavy, but it's actually light. It removes guesswork. It trims ego. It clarifies direction. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people overlook. Truth compounds faster than talent. When you measure what matters, signal over noise, outcomes over stories, you stop drifting. Elon often strips problems down to what is undeniably true, then rebuilds from there. That process looks slow until it suddenly isn't. This moment may explain why progress sometimes stalls right after bold decisions. Without truth seeking, decisions become stubborn. With it, decisions stay adaptive. Visionaries don't cling to being right, they cling to getting closer. That difference preserves momentum. Let hope rise gently. You don't need perfect metrics. You need honest ones. Where did energy grow? Where did it leak? What worked, even a little? What didn't, clearly? When truth becomes routine, improvement becomes automatic. Another turning point arrives here. Truth seeking protects focus. It filters distractions that feel urgent but add nothing. It quiets comparisons that distort timelines. It keeps curiosity productive instead of scattered. This is why the future favors builders who review reality frequently and adjust calmly. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about intensity, it's about steadiness. When truth is welcomed, patience becomes powerful. You can wait without doubting. You can act without forcing. You can iterate without losing faith. You'll understand at the end why this practice is rare. Truth is simple, but not easy. It asks for humility. It asks for consistency. And yet it rewards both more reliably than any shortcut ever could. Now let the mystery return, softly. Because even truth seeking needs one final companion to endure across years, something that stabilizes meaning when progress is quiet and recognition is delayed. Hold that thought. Let it hover without naming it. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, wait, before this settles into understanding, let it breathe, because this is the section where the current slows and the depth reveals itself. In the last part, truth seeking emerged as the stabilizer. Yet a quiet question remained unanswered. What carries truth forward when progress is invisible and results whisper instead of shout? This moment may explain what you've been sensing. Here is the reveal that endures. Wealth follows meaning that outlasts mood. Not excitement. Not applause. Meaning. When purpose is deep enough, patience becomes natural. When meaning is shallow, urgency turns brittle. Elon Musk builds for outcomes that matter to him beyond cycles of praise, and that depth steadies his decisions when timelines stretch. Feel the tension soften. Because meaning is not pressure, it is permission. It allows you to wait without doubting, to work without forcing, to refine without quitting. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people overlook. Meaning recalibrates time. When what you're building matters, delays stop feeling like losses. They become investments. Visionaries understand this intuitively. They don't rush the curve, they respect it. The flat part is not failure, it's formation. This moment may explain why comparison fades for those who are aligned. When meaning is clear, other timelines lose their pull. You stop borrowing urgency from the crowd. You start honoring your own cadence. That shift protects focus when noise spikes. Let hope rise again. You don't need a grand mission statement. You need a reason that survives boredom. A reason that holds when novelty fades. Meaning does not shout, it steadies. And steadiness compounds quietly. Another turning point arrives here. Meaning clarifies trade-offs. It tells you what to ignore. It tells you when to say no without guilt. It tells you when to stay, even when progress is slow. This is why some people appear calm in uncertainty. They are anchored, not indifferent. Notice the rhythm. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about intensity, it's about continuity. When meaning leads, curiosity stays alive, truth seeking stays honest, decisions stay clean, systems hold, momentum persists. You'll understand at the end why this is rare. Meaning asks for responsibility. It asks you to choose what matters and live accordingly. Many prefer speed without weight. The 1% accepts weight to gain direction. Let the mystery return gently. Because even meaning has a final companion, something that transforms intention into inevitability, something subtle that locks the entire structure into place over years, not weeks. Hold that pause. Let it settle. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, wait, before the thought completes itself, because this is the moment the pattern closes and opens at the same time. In the last part, meaning became the anchor. Yet one final question hovered quietly in the background. What transforms meaning into something that lasts across decades, not just seasons? This moment may explain what you've been sensing as a deeper pull. Here is the reveal that locks everything into place. Wealth follows trust built with time. Not hype, not visibility, trust. When trust compounds, results become inevitable. This is the element that turns intention into inevitability, effort into equity, and vision into reality. Feel the tension sharpen briefly. Because trust sounds abstract, but it is concrete. It lives in reliability, in follow through, in the quiet consistency of showing up when outcomes are small. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people miss. Trust is the only asset that compounds in every direction at once. It attracts opportunity. It lowers friction. It multiplies collaboration. When people trust your judgment, your integrity, your consistency, leverage appears naturally. You are no longer pushing uphill. The terrain changes. This moment may explain why sudden success often collapses. Speed without trust creates fragility. Visionaries build slowly at first so they can move quickly later. Trust is invisible while it's forming, obvious once it exists. Let hope rise calmly. You don't need everyone to trust you. You need the right few to trust you deeply. Trust with yourself. Trust with collaborators. Trust with reality. When these align, progress stabilizes. When they don't, momentum fractures. Another turning point emerges here. Trust keeps curiosity grounded. It keeps truth seeking honest. It keeps decisions credible. Without trust, even good ideas struggle to move. With it, imperfect ideas still find momentum. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about urgency, it's about durability. Trust allows you to wait without weakening, to refine without retreating, to grow without losing coherence. You'll understand at the end why this completes the structure. Identity shapes action. Focus directs energy. Curiosity fuels learning. Environment supports consistency. Decision velocity accelerates motion. Truth seeking stabilizes direction. Meaning sustains patience. And trust turns all of it into a system that compounds. Let the mystery return one last time, gently. Because even now, the work is not finished. Knowing this does not make you part of the 1%. Living it does. Hold this stillness. Let it settle into resolve. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, slow down, before certainty tries to claim this moment, because this is the section where resolve is tested and clarity is refined. In the last part, trust completed the structure, yet a final question remained quietly present. If the system is complete, why do so few people actually live it? This moment may explain what you've been sensing at the edge of understanding. Here is the next reveal. Wealth follows patience paired with execution. Not patience alone. Not action alone. The pairing. Most people are patient without acting, or active without patience. Visionaries learn to hold both at once. They move steadily while letting time do its work. That balance is rare, and rarity compounds. Feel the tension return briefly. Because patience is often misunderstood as waiting. But true patience is active. It refines. It adjusts. It keeps showing up while allowing results to mature. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people miss. impatience often disguises doubt. When belief is shallow, urgency spikes. When belief is grounded, urgency softens. This is why those who build enduring outcomes appear calm even when progress is quiet. They are not guessing. They are executing within a longer arc. This moment may explain why bursts of motivation fade. Motivation burns hot and fast. Execution with patience burns clean and long. Visionaries choose the slower flame because it lasts. Over time, that choice separates outcomes dramatically. Let hope rise in a quieter way. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You need to remain engaged. Engagement outlasts emotion. It carries curiosity through boredom, focus through distraction, and trust through silence. Another turning point arrives here. Patience protects quality. It allows you to build things that don't collapse under their own weight. Many people rush to visible success, only to spend years repairing what speed broke. Visionaries accept the invisible phase because they understand its purpose. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about acceleration, it's about continuity. When patience and execution align, momentum becomes self-sustaining. You stop forcing outcomes. You start shaping them. You'll understand at the end why this principle feels demanding. It asks for maturity. It asks you to release the need for constant reassurance. It asks you to trust the structure you've built and keep walking even when applause is absent. Let the mystery return gently. Because even with patience and execution aligned, one final distinction remains: the line between understanding the path and choosing to cross it fully. That line is subtle. It is personal. And it is decisive. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, pause, before resolve turns into routine, because this is the section where understanding becomes choice, and choice becomes direction. In the last part, patience paired with execution drew a clear line. Yet a deeper question remained: what actually carries a person across that line, again and again, when comfort pulls back? This moment may explain what you've been sensing just beneath your decisions. Here is the reveal that sharpens everything. Wealth follows standards you refuse to negotiate. Not goals. Standards. Goals are destinations. Standards are behaviors you keep regardless of mood. The 1% doesn't rise because they aim higher. They rise because they tolerate less drift. They decide what is acceptable, and they live by it daily. Feel the tension here, because standards remove excuses. They don't ask how you feel. They ask who you are becoming. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people miss. Standards turn discipline into identity. When a behavior becomes a standard, effort drops. You don't debate it. You don't postpone it. You simply do it. Over time, this quiet consistency compounds faster than bursts of intensity ever could. This moment may explain why clarity fades after inspiration. Inspiration without standards dissolves into intention. Standards without inspiration still move the needle. Visionaries understand this and set simple, non-negotiable rules that protect progress on ordinary days. Let hope rise in a grounded way. You don't need perfect standards. You need honest ones. A standard to tell the truth to yourself weekly. A standard to build before consuming. A standard to decide quickly on small things so energy remains for big ones. These are not dramatic. They are decisive. Another turning point appears here. Standards create trust, first with yourself. When you keep promises to your own process, confidence stabilizes. You stop needing external validation. You start measuring progress internally. That shift changes how you move in rooms, how you negotiate time, how you choose problems worth solving. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about pressure, it's about integrity. When standards align with meaning, patience becomes easier. Execution becomes cleaner. Trust compounds quietly. You'll understand at the end why this is rare. Standards require ownership. They remove the comfort of blaming conditions. Many prefer flexibility that feels freeing but slowly erodes momentum. The 1% chooses boundaries that look limiting at first, and liberating later. Let the mystery return gently. Because even with standards in place, one final element determines whether progress becomes legacy, something that endures beyond cycles, beyond seasons, beyond individual effort. Hold that stillness. Let the question remain open. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, wait, before momentum hardens into habit, because this is the passage where direction becomes destiny. In the last part, standards drew firm lines. Yet a final question lingered in the quiet. What allows progress to outlive the individual day, the individual mood, even the individual person? This moment may explain what you've been sensing as a pull towards something larger. Here is the reveal that widens the horizon. Wealth follows contribution that compounds beyond you. Not accumulation. Contribution. When what you build continues to create value without your constant presence, you step into a different game entirely. This is where effort transforms into legacy. Feel the tension lift and reorganize. Because contribution sounds heavy, but it's actually freeing. It shifts focus from proving to serving, from chasing outcomes to designing value. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. A micro reveal most people overlook. Contribution multiplies trust automatically. When people experience value that endures, alignment deepens. Collaboration becomes easier. Feedback becomes cleaner. This is why the most resilient systems are built around usefulness, not attention. Attention fades. Usefulness remains. This moment may explain why some paths feel hollow even when they pay well. Accumulation satisfies briefly. Contribution sustains. Visionaries sense this early. They design products, platforms, and solutions that keep working long after the initial effort. That endurance is what turns progress into permanence. Let hope rise with clarity. You don't need to change the world at once. You need to make something slightly better than it was before, and do it in a way that can be repeated. Small contributions, structured well, scale quietly. Over time, they outgrow loud achievements. Another turning point appears here. Contribution refines standards. It answers the question, what matters enough to keep improving? When contribution is clear, decisions simplify. Focus narrows. Patience strengthens. You stop asking what will impress and start asking what will last. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about urgency, it's about durability. When contribution leads, execution steadies. Truth seeking sharpens. Trust deepens. The system you've been building finally breathes on its own. You'll understand at the end why this distinction is rare. Contribution requires humility. It requires releasing the need for constant recognition. Many prefer outcomes that sparkle quickly. The 1% chooses impact that compounds quietly. Let the mystery return gently. Because even with contribution clarified, one final truth remains. The key that determines whether legacy forms by accident or by design. Hold this pause. Let it settle into intention. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, stay with this breath, because just as the structure feels complete, something quietly shifts, and this is where understanding matures into wisdom. In the last part, contribution widened the horizon and pointed toward legacy. Yet one question still hovered, almost unspoken. How does legacy become intentional rather than accidental? This moment may explain what you've been sensing as a steady pull forward. Here is the reveal that brings calm and precision. Wealth follows alignment between who you are, what you build, and why it matters. Not ambition alone. Alignment. When these three move together, effort stops fragmenting. Energy consolidates. Direction clarifies. In the next few seconds, everything will connect. Feel the tension refine itself. Because misalignment is exhausting. It creates friction, second, guessing, and drift. Alignment does the opposite. It reduces noise. Decisions feel cleaner. Trade-offs feel lighter. Visionaries don't carry more weight, they carry it in balance. A micro-reveal most people miss. Alignment accelerates learning. When your identity, work, and purpose agree, feedback lands clearly. You know what to adjust without defensiveness. You improve faster because you're not protecting contradictions. Progress becomes honest. This moment may explain why some people work hard yet feel scattered. Their actions pull in one direction, their values in another, their goals in a third. Alignment reunites them. It turns motion into momentum. Let hope rise in a grounded way. You don't need to discover alignment in one dramatic moment. You build it through small, consistent choices. Choosing problems that fit your values. Choosing systems that respect your time. Choosing standards that reflect your long-term self, not your temporary mood. Another turning point appears here. Alignment makes patience powerful. When the path fits, waiting no longer feels like delay. It feels like preparation. You refine instead of rush. You deepen instead of distract. This is why aligned builders can endure long cycles without burning out. Notice the rhythm again. Short insight, then space. Because this is not about adding pressure, it's about removing resistance. When alignment is present, focus stays steady, curiosity stays alive, trust stays intact, contribution compounds naturally. You'll understand at the end why this principle separates sustainable success from fragile wins. Alignment creates coherence. Coherence creates resilience. Resilience allows legacy to form by design. Now let the mystery return softly. Because even with alignment in place, there is one final truth. The quiet decision that determines whether everything you've heard becomes a lived path or remains a well-understood idea. Hold this pause. Let it settle without naming it. Before the next part, something must be revealed. My beloved child, pause, before this turns into conclusion, because this is the moment where everything you've heard gathers into a single, quiet decision. In the last part, alignment brought balance and direction. Yet one final